And then we look at our world. We're constantly antagonizing the Russians. The Chinese want to reconquer Taiwan. We in Britain do what the United States wants us to do. So we're embroiled in whatever they get up to. We are facing a real catastrophe. We dodged a bullet once. That was in the 1980s. Because Pope John Paul II consecrated the world and obliquely mentioned Russia, obliquely, without mentioning it by name, but it was not clear what he meant. He did what the Blessed Virgin Mary in a vision had asked some children to recommend be done 100 or so years ago, 1917, that Russia be consecrated to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. The consecration of Russia effectively took place in 1984, within a few months of that event by John Paul II. Mikhail Gorbachev became the Secretary General of the Communist Party in Russia. He became the head of the Russian state, and he began a process called glasnost and perestroika. Glasnost, openness; perestroika, reconstruction. And this began the freedom process, which led to the collapse of the Soviet Union and led to a real reduction in tension between us and the Russians. We would have probably gone to nuclear war if John Paul II had not done what he did. But the Blessed Virgin promised, and she keeps her promises because God has made her the missionary to the human race. Now, having had that dodging of the bullet that we had in 1984, where we were not incinerated by nuclear weapons, what did we do? Did we turn to God? No. Since 1984, we've become even worse than we were in 1984. We now have homosexual marriage. We have transsexuality. Abortion is spread even further. And it's even, the partial birth abortion that Obama supported. Take a child out of the womb and you kill it when it's halfway out of the womb. All this stuff. The world has become more godless. I mean in the West anyway. And it's infecting other parts of the world. So things are not getting better. So we can't really expect to dodge the bullet again. We had our chance and we've blown it. So what we do, for example, when tensions in the world really went down from 1990, when communism ended in Russia and the Soviet Union collapsed, we didn't use that as an opportunity to beat our swords into plowshares, as Isaiah says. We could have disestablished NATO. We could have engaged in real friendly relations with Russia, because it was weaker then, much weaker. It was in chaos. We could have done what we said we'd do and not extend NATO up towards east, towards Russia. No, we didn't do any of that. We decided we're the big guys now. We control everything. We're going to set the agenda and dominate. So we bombed Serbia, 1999, alleging it was for humanitarian reasons. When the Russians objected, we've moved NATO further up east, and we told Ukraine again and again, and we told them this in November most recently, November 2021, that they should look forward to joining NATO. That would mean that a power that was hostile to Russia would be right up against the Russian border. So what? Now imagine if Ireland, back in the 1970s, had said, yeah, we're going to join the Warsaw Pact. We're going to be allied with the Soviet Union, right on the borders of Great Britain. We'd have gone mental, absolutely mental. In fact, we'd have probably occupied Ireland, because England had occupied Ireland in living memory. So nobody, and the United States would never support Canada joining the Warsaw Pact, because you can't have a nation on your border that is a hostile power. We went ahead anyway. So now the Russians have invaded. And now what we're doing, the Americans stupidly have admitted, they boasted, that they provided intelligence to the Ukrainians to destroy the Russian battleship. Now, if they're doing that, there's a risk the Russians will say you are directly assisting our enemies, so they may destroy one of our battleships, and then where do we go?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That the Russians are going to come for us. They're not going to leave us alone in England. So we're heading for World War III and the end of time.
You know what happened? Just last week, we commemorated the attack on the HMS Sheffield, a British warship that was sunk by an Argentinian French-built Exocet missile in the Falklands War. I remember because I was in Sheffield at the time, and it was a big thing. But it was sunk after I think it was after we'd sunk the General Belgrano, an Argentinian battleship, which was it's sad because it was full of hundreds of young Argentinian boys conscripted into the Navy. But you know what? I'm not trying to say that we mustn't go to war. I'm not trying to be a pacifist. I'm just saying that we sunk a battleship, so there are consequences. And now if we've helped sink a Russian battleship, there may be consequences, just as our sinking of Belgrano had consequences for our Royal Navy. When you get into warfare, you can't control what's going to happen. And we are now, the Americans especially, are boasting about all they're doing. They're going to send $30 billion worth of equipment. They're doing all this kind of stuff.
We sent money, didn't we? Wasn't on the TV that our Prime Minister gave Ukraine some money?
Oh, we're doing the same. Yeah, we're doing it on a smaller scale. Oh, yeah, we're doing this. Now, I'm not saying it's okay to invade another country. I'm not saying it's okay for Russia to invade Ukraine. It's not. But this happened because we took steps to make the Russians feel threatened when we didn't have to do that. We moved our alliance, NATO, further and further east. If we'd have just done what we said we would do back in the 1990s, when God gave us an opportunity to be at peace with our fellow nations. But because we haven't, you see, when I said about the prophecy to St. Malachi, the prophecy, the coming together of the state of Israel, it looks like we're heading for Armageddon, as the Bible says.